discover the amazing transformative journey of 500 souls surviving the incredible East End slums. Emma Thompson clutched the old box to her chest, dust billowing around her like memories from a forgotten past. In her cramped attic, amid the faded childhood toys and the echoes of laughter that used to fill these walls, lay a legacy she never knew existed. Each painting whispered tales of artistry splashed in vibrant colors, breaths of life that could transform her suffocating reality. But as those colors flickered in her mind, so did the gravity of her current life. The endless cycle of bills, the gnawing hunger for a better future for her 7-year-old daughter, Lily. Honesty had been her mantra, a lesson she reiterated to Lily during their shared meals of mac and cheese or the default dinners of whatever could be stretched across their table. But here she felt the weight of hypocrisy shackle her thoughts. How could she teach resilience when each month sapped more energy than the last? The harsh ring of the phone fractured her thoughts, reminding her of the gallery owner, a well-meaning man who would soon reject what she hoped could usher in a change. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Resisting the urge to spit her frustration at Lily's innocent, wide-eyed gaze, Emma stared at the box, the painting canvases, a mosaic of her great-grandfather's dreams. Fuel raced within her, seeping through the cracks of indecision. What if she dared to showcase these pieces? What if they were the bridge to a brighter future? Yet deep-seated fears clawed at her confidence. The art world was an unforgiving place. With every thought she hesitated, questioned, confronted past and present conspiracies, the looming judgments of those who deemed her family's legacy worthless. Days passed in a blur of preparation, creativity blooming, then wilting under the shadows of self-doubt. Just when hope kindled within her, whispers of sabotage surged, anonymous critiques targeting her work, sowing seeds of trepidation, threatening to uproot her fragile desire for recognition. The tension mounted, knotted in her stomach like live wires. Was she brave enough to stand against the biases that had muted voices like hers? She thought of Lily, watching from the sidelines, absorbing every ounce of her struggle. As the art show loomed closer, her mind raced with the possibilities of failure. A part of her screamed to protect her daughter, to prioritize the steady paycheck over the tempestuous tides of artistic dreams. But was she willing to? Resigned to safety, with a heart heavy with unfulfilled potential? Desperation clawed at her, leaving her with muscles tense like springs ready to snap. And the tension cracked like thunder in the room. The unveiling would soon arrive, and Emma stood at the precipice, grappling with the weight of expectations and her battered resolve. Would she dare to reclaim what was so long denied? The unresolved agony throbbed within her, a potent reminder that the fight for recognition would either forge a revolution of self or tighten the grip of silence forever. And as she clutched her treasure in her hands, it became clearer than ever. This wasn't just her fight. It was a reckoning, one that could either illuminate or extinguish her family name, leaving her with nothing but ghosts of doubt. Emma stared at the canvases, the colors blurring as tears threatened to spill. Each stroke, each swirl echoed with her lineage, a testament to the struggles, aspirations, and heartbreaks of generations past. But could she breathe life into those echoes? Today she stood before a precipice far deeper than she anticipated, one that demanded acknowledgement of her hidden desires. Desperation urged her to take action. The gallery opening marked not just the display of her great-grandfather's brilliance, it represented her declaration of existence, a call to the art world to witness her truth. Yet the claws of self-doubt gripped tighter. What did she know about presenting fine art? All her life had been dedicated to survival, navigating the world of bills and grocery lists. The phrases of her art school instructors floated mockingly in her mind. Art is not a luxury, it's a necessity. To her, art had always been a distant luxury, an unattainable dream. Determined to reclaim that dream, she thumbed through her great-grandfather's portfolio, slowly inhaling the musty scent of old paper. His pieces weren't mere brushstrokes, but notes of perseverance, a language she felt compelled to learn. Every moment studying the canvases was a conversation with the man she never knew, urging her to embrace her identity as both an artist and a mother. Her heart quickened. This was the moment she had craved for years. As the gallery date approached, Emma immersed herself in presenting the work, piecing narratives together, intertwining her life with her ancestors' legacy. Each title chosen, each description written, wasn't merely a presentation of art, but a tapestry of connection between past and present. She began to smile at the thought of sharing their stories, marveling at how their intertwined struggles mirrored her own. But amidst this budding determination, anxiety coiled within her. The criticism she had received loomed larger than ever, whispers echoing in her mind, amplifying the weight of expectation. Could she handle the scrutiny? What if they laughed at her? What if they saw her not as a passionate artist, but a glorified mother working through nostalgia? Lily's voice broke through her spiraling thoughts. "Mama, are you going to be okay?" Anchored Emma back to reality. She knelt, placing her hands on Lily's shoulders, the simple connection grounding. "I have to fight, sweetheart, not just for me, but for you too." Before the mirrors reflecting their shared aspirations, Emma faced an opportunity that transcended her fear. It was more than just reclaiming her great-grandfather's art, it was about embracing her identity as a creator. On the eve of the event, exhaustion settled in her bones, but resolve illuminated her spirit. She needed to embody resilience, not just for her family name, but to show Lily that her dreams mattered. Setting up the gallery would be the first step in reclaiming their heritage. As she lay in bed, thoughts tangled with possibilities, she mentally rehearsed her lines for presentation, words that could redefine her as an artist fighting a tide too often dismissive. But as dawn broke, bringing with it the day of the unveiling, something deeper churned inside her. A hesitation lingered. Was this truly her fight to lead? Emma inhaled deeply, accepting the impending confrontation. The time had come to face not just the audience, but herself. In that charged moment just before the curtain lifted, she braced for whatever storms lay ahead, knowing her choices could define more than just a moment, but a lifetime. As the soft glow of morning light filled her small studio, Emma felt an electric pulse in the air, the anticipation coursing through her veins. It was the day she had visualized countless times, yet each heartbeat was punctuated by a relentless anxiety that gnawed at the edges of her composure. She was on the brink of a personal revolution, but the enormity of her intentions cast long shadows across her confidence. She slipped out of bed and mechanically set about her morning routine, the usual motions feeling alien to her now. Each action was a reminder of her dual reality, the artist striving to emerge and the mother persistently grounding herself in the everyday chaos of life. With one eye on the clock, she vacillated between excitement for showcasing her lineage and the paralyzing fear of public perception. As she sipped lukewarm coffee, Emma flipped through the notes she had prepared for her presentation. Her words swirled in her mind like colors on one of her great-grandfather's canvases, bright, chaotic, and demanding to be articulated. The story of his life, of sacrifice and resilience, was interwoven with her own narrative. But could she convey that connection convincingly to strangers anticipating the products of her lineage? Doubt whispered insidiously. Each rehearsal began to feel like an exposing ritual rather than a confidence-building exercise. What if her voice faltered? What if she couldn't articulate her mixture of fear and pride? Deep breath steadied her for a moment. "You are more than just a reflection of your ancestry," she reminded herself. As she moved to one of the canvases, her fingers traced the surface, pausing at the vibrant colors that represented her great-grandfather's dreams. In that moment, she experienced an epiphany. His struggles were not so different from her own. The very act of unveiling his work was, in essence, a reclamation of her own narrative, a transformation from passive observer of her legacy to a bold storyteller. Lily, still in her pajamas, appeared in the doorway, clutching a half-eaten piece of toast. "Can I come with you, Mama?" Her daughter's innocent query pierced through Emma's self-doubt. Emma nodded, a warm smile creeping across her face, understanding now that this journey transcended her. It was about resilience, the passing down of courage, and the creation of new legacies. On the way to the gallery, every passing block felt like a portal, whisking her away from the remnants of her fears. They arrived at the venue, a space alive with energy, echoes of laughter and conversation blending into a tapestry of excitement. But Emma hesitated at the door, her heart racing. This was the threshold of change. Would she falter, or could she leap? "Mom, are you ready?" Lily's voice grounded her, reminding Emma that this wasn't just about her. "Yes," she replied, her voice steadier than she felt. It was time to confront not just the audience, but the narrative of her identity that had been shaped by both struggle and resilience. As she stepped into the gallery, she felt the weight of expectation shift. Perhaps she would not only present art today, but dismantle walls of her own making. Her journey towards self-assertion and artistic expression beckoned her forward. But an unsettling question lingered. Was she prepared to bare her soul, or was it easier to hide behind the safety of her great-grandfather's legacy? With a deep breath, she took her first step into the unknown, ready or not, as the light from the spotlight started to warm her skin. Would she rise to redefine herself today, or would remain shackled to her fears? Only the next moments would reveal her truth, and Emma could feel the intensity of the moment escalate as she leaned into the unknown, clutching her daughter's hand tightly. The world inside the gallery felt both expansive and stifling. The polished wooden floors reflecting the mingling of attendees as they moved with purpose, yet Emma remained anchored in uncertainty. The vibrant hues of her great-grandfather's art enveloped her like a cloak, guiding her but also pressing upon her shoulders with an overwhelming weight. As couples and friends gathered around the pieces, she felt the fire of inspiration flickering, but it was almost eclipsed by a shroud of self-doubt. "Mom, look!" Lily's voice broke through the thrumming in Emma's chest, drawing her eyes to a canvas gleaming in a soft pool of light. It depicted a scene of dawn breaking over a turbulent sea, colors swirling in a dance between chaos and harmony. In that moment, Emma was struck by the very essence of artistic expression. "This is what he fought for, Lily," Emma whispered, her breath catching. "For moments like this, to share stories." A cluster of attendees approached, glancing at the artwork with intrigue. Emma straightened her posture, reminding herself that the legacy she was sharing wasn't just about her great-grandfather's name. It was intrinsically woven into her own fight for more than what was expected of her. It was a battle for acknowledgement of her voice, her art, and her identity. The opportunity was slipping closer, and she felt the creeping sensation of obligation. All those rehearsed phrases sparkled in her mind, blazing yet maddeningly evasive. "What if they don't care?" she pondered. What if they only see me as another shadow of him? Excuse me, is this your work? A voice broke into her thoughts. A woman with striking blue eyes stood before her, curiosity creeping in. No, not mine, Emma replied, her fingers instinctively brushing against the frame. It's my great-grandfather's. How incredible that you're sharing this, the woman replied, her excitement palpable. What did you learn about him as you prepared for this showcase? In that moment, the floodgates opened. Emma smiled, feeling a flicker of something akin to confidence. He was relentless. His art was not merely a reflection of beauty, but a profound expression of struggle, a way to transcend his fears. The woman's face lit up as she leaned closer, captivated. That's so powerful. I believe art is heavily intertwined with the struggles we carry. You're going to share your own story today, right? The reminder both thrilled and terrified her. The emotional echoes of her history roared around her, challenging her to be more than just the granddaughter, urging her to become the artist she had long hoped to be. With each shared feeling, her resolve solidified. I'm ready, Emma whispered to herself, catching the light of determination in her daughter's wide eyes. Perhaps within this gallery of strangers was a reflection of the self she yearned to uncover. As the crowd thickened, Emma encouraged them toward the next masterpiece, each conversation fostering a bridge towards her own artistic identity. She instinctively knew that every story shared would deepen her connection to her great-grandfather and to her own evolving narrative. Mama, are you going to tell them about the painting? Lily's innocent inquiry rooted her back into the moment. Yes, I am. It's time for them to know, Emma declared, steadying her breath. The room pulsed with curiosity, and she sensed the weight of all eyes shifting toward her. Taking a step into the center of the gathering, the growing anticipation igniting her spirit, she looked around, her heart dancing with uncertainty and hope intertwined. Could she find her own story amidst the profound tapestry woven by her ancestors' life? The room quieted, expectant, waiting for Emma to share more than just art. Would she unlock the depths of her soul, revealing a story of struggle that was uniquely hers? The first word trembled on her lips, an embodiment of courage wrestling against fear. Would it resonate? Would she finally embrace her identity as a storyteller, or would the silence crush her? She even began? The silence in the gallery thickened, stretching into a taut string of tension as everyone turned their focus toward Emma. Her heart raced, a cacophony of doubt swirling through her mind. What if her voice faltered? What if the story spilled out distorted, unrecognizable? Yet, anchored by the unwavering gaze of her daughter, Emma steadied herself, feeling the intensity of the moment. It demanded her authenticity. All of us have a story, she began, her voice surprisingly strong despite the quiver in her hands. Mine starts with a man who painted the essence of struggle and triumph. He believed art wasn't just creation, it was a declaration of existence, a way to scream against silence, to fight against being ignored. The words flowed from her like the very waves depicted in her great-grandfather's work, a tidal wave sweeping away her fears. As she spoke, the flickering shadows in her mind began to dissipate. She shared anecdotes she had once buried, how her great-grandfather faced the harsh realities of his time, using paint as both armor and weapon. In those moments, she witnessed the transformations of faces around her, nods of understanding flickering like candle flames, illuminating her resolve. I used to think that this legacy was a burden, Emma continued, her voice sharpening with newfound clarity. But each brushstroke tells not just his story, but it has the power to tell mine as well. His struggles, his fears, those are my inheritance, and I am choosing to shape them into my own narrative. an act of defiance against the expectations set upon me. In the audience, her sincerity drew them closer. She observed their expressions, shifting from mere curiosity to a deep engagement, as if they were family members rediscovering long-lost tales around a warmth-laden hearth. Emma's words poured out her longing to transcend the shadow that loomed over her. She wanted more than to be a reflection. She yearned to become a voice that resonated with authenticity. What if, she paused, collecting her thoughts, our struggles give rise to resilience? What if, every time we stumble, we find a new layer of ourselves waiting to be unveiled? Lily's light-filled eyes seemed to shine brighter, reflecting the blossoming realization stirring within Emma. She was growing, shedding the inhibitions that had held her captive for too long. Every hidden facet of her being began to emerge, each one a potential brushstroke in the canvas of her life. The audience was entranced. Emma felt the collective energy steering her away from self-doubt and toward empowerment. Each story, every plummet and rise, imbued her with strength. She could share her truth. She was stepping confidently into her own artistry. "But this isn't just my journey," she concluded, glancing at her daughter. "It's ours. I invite you to embrace your own stories, your struggles, your victories. Together, we can redefine what it means to create." As she uttered those final words, there was an electrifying hush that followed, a gentle disarray of emotions woven into the air. Emma could sense the gravity of connection forming, binding her to them all. The weight of her great-grandfather's legacy felt lighter, a mantle she was ready to wear, not as a ghost of the past, but as a vibrant force of the present. Emma's heart was racing, not with fear, but with exhilaration. She had transformed the act of sharing into a living mosaic of liberation. Yet, amidst the applause, an unexpected wave of consciousness rolled through her. Her own journey was just beginning. In the corner of the gallery, she noticed a man, his expression shadowed by skepticism, yet curious as Emma had seen earlier. Her instinct bristled. He held potential for conflict, a challenge she hadn't anticipated. Would he question her narrative, dissect her revelations under the scrutiny of his expectations? The air thickened once more, anticipation gripping her. The moment to confront her own self-doubt loomed just ahead, and Emma felt the first stirrings of a determination that wouldn't be easily extinguished. Emma stepped off the dais, her heart still thrumming in her chest, a mix of adrenaline and trepidation coursing through her veins. The applause faded into a murmur, voices mingling into a tapestry of reactions, each one a thread woven into the fabric of her burgeoning confidence. Yet that man in the corner continued to draw her gaze. He was a storm on the horizon, and she felt the urge to brace herself for impact. She moved through the crowd, smiles and nods from acquaintances flooding her senses, yet her focus remained fixed on the unknown skeptic. What would he say? His raised eyebrow and the tight line of his mouth hinted at a challenge, a confrontation simmering beneath the surface. Emma had a wishful thought that perhaps he merely sought curiosity, but instinctively she knew he felt more like a predator than a passive observer. "Do you really believe you can redefine the narrative?" he asked, stepping into her path as she closed the distance. His voice, cool and measured, sent a jolt through her. "It's easy to talk about embracing our stories, but how do you plan to move beyond mere words?" Gripping her own resolve, Emma took a deep breath, savoring the tension that brushed against her. This was her first moment of pushing against the boundaries of her newfound voice, an opportunity to articulate her beliefs clearly. "What we do with our stories defines us," she replied, feeling the words crystallize with strength. I may not have all the answers, but by sharing my truth, I am taking ownership of my narrative. I refuse to allow fear to dictate my existence." His eyes narrowed, skeptically weighing her determination. Emma recognized the challenge. How could she validate the authenticity of her voice against the weight of the world's skepticism? A sense of foreboding stirred her thoughts as she wondered if this exchange would punctuate her journey or derail it. "Isn't it risky?" he pressed, crossing his arms as if bracing himself. Against her fervor, hiding behind art, behind data, distorts relaying raw experience. You can refuse to be held captive by expectations, but can you truly set your legacy apart? His words struck a nerve. This doubt rolled through her, conjuring the ghosts of her past that whispered she would never be enough, that she would always be defined by others' opinions. Yet she felt the strength of the connection she forged moments before. No, she couldn't allow this doubt to tether her down. "Risky?" she challenged back, the urgency of her voice rising. "Every act of creation is risky. Every step toward authenticity demands we confront the expectations lingering in our shadows. I paint my legacy not only for myself, but for those whose stories have been silenced. Isn't that worth the risk?" For a beat, silence hung between them, the space charged with the weight of their exchange. Emma's heart raced. She felt the undeniable power of her own words, floating in the air, challenging both of their perspectives. Yet the familiar tendrils of insecurity resurfaced. What if he could dissect her conviction? What if her defenses crumbled? No, this was her moment to push through. With a deliberate breath, Emma stepped closer to the man. "The legacy I want to build is not without its instability, but it is a narrative that can inspire resilience. I will continue to direct my own artistry, even if it doesn't conform to traditional standards." His posture shifted. A fraction of uncertainty flickered in his expression. This was her opportunity, she realized. By owning the conversation, she could challenge herself and transform fear into discovery. But then, just as the storm seemed to clear, she noticed the shifting glances of those around them, whispers beginning to swirl. Emma felt the weight of a public confrontation hover over her, a gathering storm upon the horizon that threatened to break. The challenge he laid before her was just a piece of a larger puzzle. As the tension loomed, she recognized that this moment could shape her understanding of herself, setting the stage for greater revelations or hardships ahead. Whatever the outcome, she had to confront this head-on. What if you turned that skepticism into discussion? What might emerge from that? Emma ventured, an invitation glimmering in her questioning gaze. She was embracing the unknown, bracing for whatever might follow. As the crowd shifted and swelled, she understood she stood not merely at the threshold of a personal confrontation, but a pivotal moment propelling her deeper into her own narrative. The moment had arrived. The stakes were high. Embracing a clearer definition of who she was would lead her to uncover even deeper truths about her own potential. Would she rise above the constraints of others' narratives, or risk losing herself against the tide of expectation? Emma could feel the tide turning, but to what end? Emma stood face to face with the skeptic, the buzz of the crowd fading into the background. The air felt thick, saturated. The moment stretched, resonating with her decision to confront the doubts circling her mind and the figure before her. She was no longer just a participant in this exchange. She was a player in her narrative, deciding that this test would not go unanswered. "Turning skepticism into discussion?" he echoed, his voice laced with incredulity. "That's a naive approach. What makes you think genuine dialogue can emerge from a conflict like this?" He leaned in, clearly skeptical, yet she sensed the thin thread of intrigue beneath his challenge. Emma realized the opportunity at hand. This was more than momentary confrontation. It was a vulnerable but vital junction in her journey towards self-discovery. "Because it's not just about proving myself right or wrong," she asserted, her voice gaining strength. "It's about understanding different viewpoints. I want to engage with the stories that oppose mine, confront discomfort, and seek resolutions, even if they are uncomfortable." His brow furrowed, as if weighing the merit of her conviction. Emma noticed his body language shift ever so slightly, the defensive stance easing as curiosity crept into his expression. The recognition electrified her. "You think that your art, your narrative, can transcend conventional expectations?" he asked, his tone hinting at genuine interest. "How will you navigate the pressure to conform?" "By embracing authenticity, even when it's messy," Emma replied, fighting the urge to retreat. Each syllable felt like a stone dropping into still waters, creating ripples. "I want my work to be a reflection of the truths I uncover, not simply a facade of acceptability. If I falter along the way, I'll begin again." The tension shifted from adversarial to exploratory, a delicate line evolving into something more profound. She was confronting not just his skepticism, but her internal fears. Fears she knew all too well, if allowed to spread, would smother her efforts. This was her chance to prove that she could not only withstand scrutiny, but harness it for growth. "Talk is easy," he pushed back lightly, the spark of challenge still glimmering. "What's your plan? Are you prepared to take every rejection personally? Will you allow it to fuel your drive?" "Yes," she spoke firmly, tasting the resolve that had grown in her as she articulated her vision. "Every rejection is a stepping stone, not a barrier. Every voice, including those who dismiss me, contributes to my story. I am here to elevate myself and to document the ways we can learn from one another." His expression softened as she spoke, revealing the vulnerability in the man tasked with presenting skepticism as truth. Perhaps it was the authenticity of her words, or the authenticity radiating from her, that struck a chord. "You're not the first to attempt such a feat," he finally admitted, his arms easing as if surrendering defensiveness. "Yet you carry a tenacity I haven't frequently encountered." Emma felt a rush of energy at his recognition. This moment was an upheaval, digging deeper into the mosaic of her motivations and ambitions. Wasn't she, after all, embracing the very complexities that she sought to illustrate in her work? The future she envisioned was rife with challenge, but also rich in possibility. Taking a definitive step back, she offered a smile tinged with challenge and hope. "Will you join me in this exploration? Engage with me instead of instructing from afar." A flicker of surprise lit his eyes, mingled with contemplation. It was an uncharted territory for both of them, yet it felt brimming with transformative potential. Fear permeated her thoughts, but alongside it, a burgeoning anticipation unfolded, an invitation to navigate uncharted waters together. Just then, she caught the gaze of a few people lingering on their exchange, faces threaded with curiosity. Emma's heart quickened. This conversation was unfolding publicly, a testament to her boldness, both terrifying and exhilarating. And in that moment, as the stakes rose higher, Emma knew the confrontation had not merely been against another voice. It was a celebration of her deeper understanding of what it meant to stand in her truth. But the doubts remained. Would she indeed have the courage to embrace the challenges awaiting on the path she was carving? As she locked eyes with the man, sensing the weight of their brief truce and the potential it held, Emma understood that this moment was only the beginning of a larger journey. The question lingered. Would the pursuit of her narrative empower her, or unveil buried fears she would have to confront? The moment had come to pivot. Into the fray, or fade away? The answer seemed as elusive as it was necessary. With her heart racing and the crowd's fascination nudging her forward, Emma felt the walls she had erected around her ambition begin to crack. Their eyes, a mixture of admiration and skepticism, compelled her to dig deeper within herself. She had taken the leap, and now she had to see where it would lead. The skeptic, whose name she learned was Benjamin, appeared contemplative, but she sensed an unspoken challenge remained. His question hung in the air, a reminder of the very doubts she had wrestled with for so long. How could she turn this moment into something enduring, not just a fleeting exchange? "I want to invite you," she hesitated briefly before continuing, "to co-create something together, a dialogue born from conflict. Your perspective is valuable. Maybe through this our understanding can shift." He regarded her with a tilt of his head, measuring her sincerity, and an unanticipated thought pulsed through her. Did she truly want to expose herself to someone who thrived on skepticism? Nevertheless, there was a tantalizing prospect in collaboration, a raw energy that sparked when two different worlds fused. "Why would I?" he replied, the cynicism in his tone countered by a flicker of intrigue. "What's in it for me?" "Constructive engagement," she answered, unwavering. "We both have something to learn. By melding opposing viewpoints, we can draw something meaningful from this messy terrain." Her conviction felt invigorating and frightening. She could sense the crowd's collective breath. Would they witness an artistic collaboration or an explosive clash of ideals? Emma didn't care at that moment. She recognized that this was more than a conversation. It was her art spilling into the world, alive and pulsing. "I'm just a critic, Emma," Benjamin finally stated, taking a step back and easing the tension that had threatened to choke their exchange. "Your soul is poured into this, but I'm simply here to point out flaws." "Flaws or opportunities?" She leaned closer, a spark igniting inside her. "Art is about reframing our conversations, and discussing those flaws can breed transformation. We all carry the capacity for growth, don't you think?" She could feel her words resonating, not just with him, but with the gathering audience. They had shared in this tension, this discovery, a united sense of engagement in a dialogue simmering with possibility. The corners of Benjamin's mouth twitched, a raw smile about to break free. "I've encountered artists who take critique as a mere dagger. It's refreshing to meet someone who perceives it as a tool, an opportunity to sculpt and refine." Emma nodded, noting how her challenges were rooted not just in personal fears, but also in existing societal structures. "If I can embrace the critique, I can shape my narrative into something more vibrant and real. Don't we all desire that?" The contemplation deepened between them. She considered the audience, their faces alive with curiosity, reflecting her burgeoning confidence. Emma could recreate her narrative within this community, a diverse tapestry rich in dialogue and artistic expression. Yet the deeper fear nestled in her chest reminded her that growth wasn't merely about claiming victory in creative discussions, it was about facing vulnerability. Would she truly be able to hold firm against the inner critic that had haunted her for so long? In the spotlight, the prospect of realization felt thrilling yet precarious. "I accept your invitation," Benjamin finally said, determination solidifying in his voice. "Let's explore our narratives together, but be warned, I won't hold back. That's my role." "Perfect," Emma replied, a grin breaking through the lingering anxiety. As the weight of their agreement settled, a new energy began to pulse within her, fueling her desire for artistic growth and connection. Together, they could shatter the barriers of skepticism and emerge fortified through collaboration. As the crowd murmured in anticipation, she sensed another layer of tension creeping into the edges of her consciousness. This was opening the door to possibilities, yet vulnerability was a double-edged sword. Conversations could illuminate and broaden horizons, but would she be prepared for the shadows lurking just beneath the surface of those discussions? Emma's heart raced anew, a thrill mingled with deep-seated trepidation. The stakes were rising, the path of ambition stretched ahead, but impending fears nudged in her confidence. Would she readily engage with the discomfort that transformative dialogue demanded? Would her pursuit be a catalyst for empowerment or a plunge into a storm of self-doubt? Emma's heart raced anew, a thrill mingled with deep-seated trepidation. The stakes were rising, the path of ambition stretched ahead, but impending fears nudged at her confidence. Would she readily engage with the discomfort that transformative dialogue demanded? Would her pursuit be a catalyst for empowerment or a plunge into a storm of self-doubt? Emma's heart raced anew, a thrill mingled with deep-seated trepidation. The stakes were rising, the path of ambition stretched ahead, but impending fears nudged at her confidence. Would she readily engage with the discomfort that transformative dialogue demanded? Would her pursuit be a catalyst for empowerment or a plunge into a storm of self-doubt? Emma's heart raced anew, a thrill mingled with deep-seated trepidation. The stakes were rising, the path of ambition stretched ahead, but impending fears nudged at her confidence. Would she readily engage with the discomfort that transformative dialogue demanded? Would her pursuit be a catalyst for empowerment or a plunge into a storm of self-doubt? Emma took a deep breath, reminding herself that this exploration had just begun. What lay beyond the fringes of their collaboration was yet unknown, an uncharted narrative waiting to unfold. The next conversation might just bring forth everything she had feared and hoped for. Emma sat in her studio the next day, an array of sketches and notes scattered around her like the remnants of her swirling thoughts. The buzz from the previous night still echoed in her mind, a frenetic energy that both exhilarated and unsettled her. She couldn't shake the feeling that the pathway ahead was steeped in unpredictability. Collaboration with Benjamin loomed large in her consciousness, both an opportunity and a minefield. She needed a strategy, a way to channel her fears into something productive. As she examined her sketches, she began to realize how deeply personal her work was. In these pieces, she had poured her anxieties, aspirations, and vulnerabilities, creating a mosaic of her identity. This reflection was both soothing and terrifying. Could she really invite another perspective to challenge the very core of what she'd created? The thought of Benjamin reviewing her work intensified her worries. Would he see the flaws she had hidden behind layers of paint? Would his critical gaze unravel the confidence she was beginning to build? Despite these fears, a stubborn sense of growth burned within her. If she could withstand his critique, if she could embrace those flaws, perhaps she could expand her artistic realm. Days passed, and Emma spent hours developing concepts for their collaboration. She wanted to create something original, a bridge connecting her art to the messy, beautiful complexities of debate. To invite an audience into this dialogue, she would need to strip away the barriers of her own insecurities. One afternoon, as the sun dipped behind the rooftops, Emma received a message from Benjamin suggesting they meet. Her stomach twisted as she typed her response, a pulse of apprehension coursing through her. Would this conversation lead to enlightenment or deeper conflict? Either way, she would have to confront those nagging doubts head-on. The day of their meeting was brisk, the air tinged with a hint of autumn. Emma arrived early, preparing herself mentally for the encounter. As Benjamin arrived, she studied him, gauging his mood. Was he truly the cynic he projected, or was there a softer side that surfaced in creative discussions? "Let's get right into it," he said, scanning her sketches laid out on the table. Emma felt her heart pound. This was the moment of truth. She held her breath as he picked up a piece, squinting at its details. "This piece shows promise," he stated, nodding slightly. "But tell me, what's your intention behind it?" She swallowed hard, forcing herself to articulate her thoughts. "I want to challenge people's perceptions and stir emotions, prompting them to view vulnerability as strength, not weakness." His brow furrowed slightly, and she detected an undercurrent of curiosity. "Vulnerability? Aren't artists supposed to manifest confidence?" "Maybe," she countered, her voice gaining strength. "But confidence often masks the deeper struggles within us. To be authentic means to embrace those struggles." Benjamin tilted his head, seemingly weighing her words. "Interesting. But what happens when that authenticity is met with resistance? How do you handle criticism then?" The question struck at the heart of her fears. She wrestled with her response, striving to present her newfound belief. "The only way to grow is to engage with that resistance. I see it as an invitation to evolve, to rethink my perspective." A silence fell between them, thick with contemplation. Benjamin opened another sketch, his gaze penetrating, and Emma fought to quell the instinctive urge to defend her work. Instead, she focused on her breathing, grounding herself in the present. "You really want to dive into the discomfort, don't you?" he finally said, a hint of respect woven through his skepticism. "I have to," she replied, determination surging within her. "This is about more than my art. It's about redefining my narrative and inviting others to join in that journey." They exchanged ideas back and forth, a rhythm settling into their conversation. Challenges arose, but so did unexpected flashes of insight. An urge to dig deeper into her work began to form, coaxing her resilience into the light. By the end of their session, Emma felt invigorated, yet a part of her clung to the unease. Their collaboration could thrive in this tension, but it required her to face every flaw and uncertainty she held on to. As they prepared to part ways, Benjamin surprised her with a suggestion. "Let's focus on the narratives that reflect our struggles. Perhaps there lies the true essence of our collaboration." Emma's pulse quickened at the prospect. This wasn't merely about art anymore. It was a deeper exploration of themselves. What lay ahead was shaping into a complex journey, one that would challenge her in ways she'd never anticipated. As she walked home, the weight of potential pressed down upon her. The conversation had ignited a flame, illuminating the shadows lurking in her mind. Yet she couldn't shake the thought, how deeply could she allow her vulnerabilities to surface, and what would be revealed as a result? The path to authenticity was winding, and she sensed a storm brewing just out of sight, one that demanded to be confronted. Emma stood before her latest masterpiece, the gallery walls echoing back her immense hopes and lingering uncertainties. The transformative journey that had unfurled over the past months culminated in this moment. Her heart raced, a blend of exhilaration and trepidation washing over her as she prepared for the opening of her new exhibit, an artistic exploration not just of her great-grandfather's legacy, but of her own undeniable ascent through adversity. With newfound courage, she had taken on the challenge of collaborating with Benjamin, a skeptic turned partner in creative exploration. Their discussions had pried open the doors of her vulnerability. Together, they dissected the very fabric of their artistic identities. Through shared narratives and dialogues that traversed the terrain of their struggles. This wasn't merely about showcasing art anymore. It was a celebration of resilience. As her friends and family began to fill the gallery, Emma felt an overwhelming weight lift off her shoulders. No longer was she the hesitant artist hiding behind inherited brilliance. She stood proudly as a creator in her own right. The brushstrokes of her great-grandfather mingled with her own, each piece a testament to the tenacity that bound their stories together. Lily, now 7, gleefully scampered through the crowd, her laughter ringing like music, an invigorating reminder of why Emma fought so fiercely. She wanted her daughter to witness strength embodied, to see that the art was born not just of paint and canvas, but of a relentless spirit refusing to be diminished. As attendees moved from canvas to canvas, engaged in conversation, Emma's eyes scanned the crowd. Here, they were not just observers, they were participants in an evolving dialogue. The skepticism that had once darkened her path now mingled with curiosity. Benjamin moved fluidly among the guests, encouraging discussions rooted in the complexities of artistic expression and the courage to face every flaw. "Emma!" An enthusiastic voice broke through her thoughts. It was the gallery owner, a charming man with an infectious smile. "Your work is resonating incredibly. People are captivated. You've truly achieved something significant here." Warmth swelled in her chest, and a spark ignited her confidence. She had conquered her fears, dismantled the walls of self-doubt brick by brick, and emerged as a compelling voice in the art community. The affirmation curbed the last remnants of hesitation that lingered, validating the journey she had undertaken and the narrative she had chosen to embrace. In that moment, Emma realized she was no longer fighting merely for her legacy. She was claiming her identity as a storyteller, one worthy of recognition and respect amidst the creative landscape. Her heart surged at the thought that she had transformed from a shadow into a luminous figure, solidifying her position as an innovative artist. Later in the evening, as the lights dimmed and an audience gathered for the talk she was set to give, Emma felt an electric buzz flow through her. She stepped onto the stage, warmth radiating from a mixture of captivating art and eager listeners. "Ladies and gentlemen," her voice rang out, steady and assured. "Tonight represents a journey of reclaiming stories silenced for generations. Each painting is a reflection of struggles, aspirations, and ultimately a desire to grow. My great-grandfather fought through darkness, and so did I. But our stories are interwoven. Here, we embrace vulnerability as strength." The audience leaned forward, drawn in by her passion. She spoke of the memories encased within the canvases and the revelations discovered through dialogues that challenged her deeply held fears. Every word was deliberate, weaving a tapestry of resilience that resonated with the crowd, showcasing her transformation from the confines of her past into a confidently defined present. When she finished speaking, a wave of applause erupted, transforming the cavernous space into a sanctuary of connection. Emma's heart swelled with pride. She had achieved the ultimate feat of authenticity, acceptance not just by her peers, but by herself. It was no longer about approval. It was about understanding her own narrative as equally vital and valid. As the evening lingered, conversations blossomed and connections deepened. With Lily by her side, Emma felt a divine sense of fulfillment. The fight was worth it. She had emerged triumphant, carving out a space where her identity could thrive. This was just the beginning. She had proven her capability to rise above doubt, to embrace the duality of joy and struggle, and to create a lasting impact within the art world. Emma's heart brimmed with trust in her abilities, excitement for future endeavors, and unwavering love for her daughter who had witnessed her transform and reclaim the family legacy. No longer did she stand at the precipice of her fears. She stood at the threshold of infinite possibilities. Emma had achieved a formidable journey of personal and artistic growth, and this moment marked the launch of an even brighter future. To the audience engrossed in her story, Emma concluded with a powerful message. Let us bear our truths and rise together through the struggles we share. The art we create is our legacy, and it has the power to inspire change. With that, Emma Thompson stepped into the spotlight, not just as an artist, but as a beacon for all who dared to follow their truth and share their unique narratives. Now that you've followed Emma's incredible journey, it's time for you to step up. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories that inspire and transform lives. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and make sure these stories reach others who need to overcome their struggles. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending. Your voice matters. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to spread the inspiration. Only true fans of personal overcoming stories understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.